Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with Daily Technical Update. It is Wednesday, it is the 11th of February. This video is for educational purposes only. There's no recommendation or advice whatsoever intended. Alright, let's have a look at what went on yesterday in the European market. Not much happened in the US market, to say the least. It was a fairly quiet day. But that's how it is sometimes. But in Europe, we had Philips, the Dutch company that has been depressed for quite some time, but it released earnings and guidance that sent the share price up almost 12%, a big jump here in European session yesterday on the Amsterdam exchange. And as we can see here on the weekly, it was a massive move. So it has confirmed the bullish trend. It slowly has been building up over the past weeks, starting last year. And it has established a bullish trend both on daily and weekly chart that could push higher here in the coming weeks towards around 30 euros. But zooming out, you can see it's been a massive downtrend here back in 2022, 23. Basically, took about a year to be more than halved, cut off like 75% of the share price. Now it seems to be bouncing strongly back. But let's go back to, as we usually do, with the Nasdaq 100, where we saw a little bit of setback yesterday after a strong bounce here at the previous days. Trading around the 100 moving average, still negative sentiment, so it's still a little bit cautiousness should be observed. It is still in a bearish trend short term, trying to get back above the 55 moving average. If we can get back above 25,500, maybe then it can start establishing a bullish trend, but for now it is still not there. Pre-market, the future is basically unchanged, so not much to look for there. And it seems like we are still waiting for, and especially Nvidia, we're still waiting for some earnings that maybe can lift the market further. And moving on to the S&P 500, well, also a little bit of a setback, but not much. It has kept itself above 6,789 key support here, and the 100 and the 55 moving average. So still slightly bullish, but I would say basically range trading. It needs to close above 7,000 for establishing a bullish trend. Pre-market also basically unchanged. Just a quick look at Dow Jones. That has been doing quite well lately. Still, again, a new all-time high. Spiking higher, forming a doji here yesterday, but it was a slightly close, slightly higher, so both a higher close and a higher spike on Dow Jones. So it's still the so-called old school companies that still is doing their best on the US market. We have also here pre-market trying to crawling a little bit higher. The Russell 2000 index has after the dip below the support there, still in a positive sentiment. And if it takes out the previous peak there at 271.60, then it has cancelled this top reversal pattern, and it could very well do that, despite the fact that we are still a little bit rejected here at the 60 threshold, but I think we will see it crawling higher. In Asian session, we had the Hang Seng also unchanged, but in a bouncing mode, and the overall picture is still bullish. Positive sentiment on the RSI, no divergence, indicating likely higher levels eventually, and I think we could see it of challenging the 28,000 there. The Nikkei still on an elevated state, RSI above its falling trend line, indicating likely higher levels on Nikkei. I think we could see it maybe testing 60,000 here in the next few weeks, possibly. Wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of a setback before maybe next push higher, despite the fact we have some, it is indicated in a stretched state here with the RSI declining, but after breaking above falling trend line, there is some signs it could crawl higher. Europe yesterday was basically unchanged. The bullish trend is intact though on the EuroStoxx50. positive sentiment indicating likely higher levels, and I think we will see a fairly bullish push here towards the end of the month going into March. Pre-market, not much to talk about, so basically unchanged. DAX flirting again, failed to close above 25,020, and that is key here on the 9th. It also closed just a few euros below, and yesterday spiked above. It really needs to close above to re-establish the bullish trend, and RSI needs to get back above 60 threshold to support that picture. Pre-market, not much to talk about, flirting with that level, that resistance level there. On the euro dollar, bouncing still going on, trading a little bit between the 38.2 and the 50% retracement. I think we'll see it crawling higher here in the next few days towards 120. The overall picture, medium term, I still believe we will see it up to areas around 122.5 and 124. Possibly a little bit higher, but up in this region here is quite likely to see it in the coming weeks. Especially if it takes out the peak there at 120.80 and a change, and I think we will see that positive sentiment and no divergence on the RSI is supporting that picture. On the sterling dollar, more or less the same picture really here, between the 38.2 and 50% retracement. I think if it takes out these peaks here the past few days, then we could also see a break of 137.30 and a push higher. And if it takes out the peak there at 138.66, well, then I think we could see a push up above 140 towards 142, 143. Euro sterling also between its 50% and 38.2 retracement of this downtrend here. Let's just zoom out a little bit so we can see it better here. If it takes out the spike up there from the 9th of February, well, then there's potential up to the region around 88. But let's see, still at the 100 moving average, holding it back a little bit. There's still negative sentiment on the RSI. It needs to get back above 60 threshold. But let's see what it can do. If it's sliding back below the falling trend line, then downtrend could resume. Yen pairs are really on the move at the moment. Sell-off in the dollar yen. Yesterday it paused there at the 61.8 retracement and 154.25. But overnight here in Asian session continued just through the 786 retracement. So I think we could see it testing the 152 support area down here. And I wouldn't be surprised if it dipped all the way down to around 150 and the 200 moving average here. But let's see, I think we could see a little bit of bounce here, maybe the next move. So under pressure really there on the dollar yen. Let's have a look at the weekly. Let's just there. And we can see here 151, 150, there's some support in this region. We have the 100 weekly moving average coming up, giving some support. But a massive sell-off on the yen pairs continue also on the euro yen that sold off yesterday in European session all the way down to 61.8 retracement, continued below the 786 there, and I think we could see the lows here around 181.70, 181.50 being tested. They're not the strongest one, but nevertheless there are some to it. RSI currently testing 40 threshold. If it closes below, well, then further downside should be expected. We can see here on the weekly how it's really dived, and also the RSI testing 60 threshold, but it was already in an exhaustion mode, as we can also see here on the daily. So we were warned, and I've talked about it for so long, that the divergence on it indicating uptrend exhaustion. Aussie yen, let's just resize it. There we are. Not so much, but it's mainly due to the Aussie dollar that is pushing high. We're going to look at the Aussie dollar pair in a minute. So still in a bullish trend, but as we also talked about for quite some time, it is in exhaustion mode. Below the minor support here at 109 is not as strong. it will be key to watch what's going on when we get down to the rising trend line there, which we could see. If we could also very short term say the last leg up here, well, support there 109, and next one 107.85. The sterling yen has taken out support there at 209.60. Went straight through the 61.8 retracement and the 786 retracement, and could pushing lower here in the coming days towards the area around 207.5, 207. Then we have the 100 moving average coming up, giving some support. RSI flirting with the 40 threshold. I think it will close below. We can see also had been divergence. I mean, and that means uptrend exhausting for quite some time. So it seems that tides are turning and we are establishing a bearish trend. Is basically if we end the day below this support there. And now we get to the Aussie dollar, the Australian dollar against the US dollar, pushing higher, taking out the peak there. And I think we can remove this one because this bounced from the 38.2 retracement. It's not really interesting anymore. And we are set for higher levels, which I have alluded to, but we're likely positive sentiment, no divergence, indicating likely higher levels. We'll be looking at 72, 73 levels here on Aussie dollar for the next, the coming weeks and months. And if we are looking at the weekly chart, we can see what we are heading towards, and there's potential much higher. Strong positive sentiment on the RSI, no indication of exhaustion at the moment. The dollar Canada paused a little bit overnight here at the 786 retracement, pushing further lower here this morning, and I think we will see it pushing also below the support there at 134.80 and push down to around 134 area is likely. Bearish trend is intact on short term and medium term, as we can see here on the weekly, pushing below that. So potential down to around 134 here on the shorter term. Sterling Canada just very quickly, also bearish below the clouds, testing 40 threshold, but let's not spend too much time on that pair. The Swiss franc still flirting around with these lows here, spiked below yesterday, managed to stay above, but now it's selling off a little bit again, and the trend is bearish, and I think we could see US Swiss pushing lower towards 90.5, possibly all the way down to 90. That will take some time though, but we are in a bearish trend, and it looks quite heavy also on the medium term, as we can see here, just falling. So a strong Swiss franc is still at the name of the game. Dollar Swiss bouncing a little bit here from around the 786 retracement there at 76.40-45, but trend is bearish, negative sentiment on the RSI indicating lower dollar Swiss levels. So it's also the Euro Swiss, or the Swiss franc here getting stronger against the US dollar, and I think it won't take long before we are testing the 76 support area down here, and possibly also take it down with a move down to 75. The dollar index dropping lower, and as I said for quite some time, I think we will see it pushing towards 95.90, the 786 retracement, and now we are just below above these 61.8. I think we will see also on the medium term lower levels down here around the 95, 94, and medium to a little bit longer term, I mean in a couple of months, I think we'll see it even lower. We are in a bearish trend on all time horizons there, or time frames. The gold spot is taking a little bit of a breather, dancing sideways, but still I think we'll see it pushing higher, and if it takes out the peak up there 5,091, well, then I think we'll see a push up to 5,340, the 786 retracement of this sell-off there, especially if we can establish the 60 threshold, the RSI above the 60 threshold. I think that's it's going to play out, but be careful. It is still a little bit nervous times in the precious metals market. The silver also stepping a little bit sideways around the $80. If it starts pushing towards the 786 retracement of this sell-off there, then we could see it pushing higher and taking out 92.20. Well, then we are pushing towards 100. 55 moving average coming up there, giving some support. So it is the underlying trend is still bullish despite the massive correction there. Let's have a look at the silver future, because that could be interesting. It actually closed both on the spot and the silver. The 40 threshold was closed below that one. The RSI closed below here. So let's see what's going on here in the next couple of weeks. I think we could still see it crawling higher. Platinum flirting with the 61.8 retracement of this sell-off there. I think it will slowly crawl higher towards the 786 retracement. We are still above the cloud, never closed below. Yes, we dipped below, but bounced from the 100 moving average. And we could be range bound in this big range here. It's only if it takes out the peak up here at 2,335, then the uptrend has re-established a bullish trend. But for now, keep an eye on what's going on. I think we could see it up to 22 and 22.25 level there. Copper also dancing around the 595, the 38.2 retracement of this downtrend there, and we can also measure the latest sell-off there, and that's where we are dancing around the 61.8 retracement. But I stick to this one because this is a more clean one. But anyway, it needs to get back above 611.55 to go back in a bullish mode. I think it will do it eventually and push higher also on copper. Energy market, we have the WTI crude oil basically a little bit sideways, but underlying bullish trend. Moving averages pushing higher, positive sentiment indicating higher levels on WTI crude oil. 66.5 is likely to be tested here. Give it a couple of weeks. Let's see what's going on also in Iran. That could be decisive for the crude oil. If it takes out 66.5, well, then there's a potential up to a 70 plus, possibly higher. Brent crude oil, same picture, it's just a little bit higher up here, but also in the bullish trend, higher highs, higher low, higher high, higher low. And can we get another higher low? Positive sentiment on the RSI, no diversion, indicating that is likely to play out. We can also see the 55, give it a couple of days, and it will break above the 100 moving average, and they're both rising. So that will support the underlying bullish outlook for crude oil. The nat gas, on the other hand, keeps dropping. Here, European nat gas, I think we will see it dropping towards 30 euros here fairly soon. I think we will take it out the lows there. We can see it dropping really, really fast. US nat gas, more or less the same picture. Here it's the continuous future, very close to the $3, and could dip below it here quite soon. We have 786 retracement, and this is the March future only. Then around just below the $3. The US 10-year Treasury yields has dropped quite sharply the past week or so. First it went back to the 420 after being rejected up here around 430, and setting back below the support there, and also taking out overnight the short-term rising trend line here. So the inverted shoulder pattern didn't move that far. It only got up to 430, which is would be stocks should be happy about this. The economy should be happy about this. But we're setting back, and we could set back all the way down to around 411, where we have some support, both in the form of the cloud just above it and the 100 moving average there. So Key will be also 40 threshold. Will it close below 40 or not? The RSI, that will be key, but I think we could see at least challenge. I wouldn't be surprised to see it taking it out and drop back to that level there. European yields also has sat back, as we can see here on this 1 US, and we could see a test of the support there at 277.78. We spiked a little bit lower there at 277, yes. So that could be tested, that support, after breaking the rising trend line, and I think that is likely scenario to play out. The UK 10 also setting back yesterday again, and I think we could see it setting back a little bit further below 445, 443 maybe, and the Japanese 10 basically range bound, a bit of volatility, but range bound here between 217.15 and to the peak up there at 232. I think that's the breakout we need to see for further upside or a little bit of a setback. So give it a couple of days, see what's happening. But for now, we're basically trading sideways. Bitcoin sliding lower. Didn't get all the way up to, can still do it up to the 38.2 retracement there at 74,500, and I said possibly up to 80,000, but for now it seems quite depressed. It's really not the flavor of the town or the flavor of the month anymore. It has been sold off quite heavily. Key support $60,000, and the same with Ethereum, really there, 1740 key support, and really under pressure, but it's a really key strong support. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day and keep chatting out there. Be careful. It is volatile times.